Have you checked the children? Your little mess
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And again, Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are finally back doing a new movie review. That's right, we braved the elements and we went to a local theater, fully masked up, fully social distance,
Yep.
at least the way the theater thought it should be done.
Mm-hmm. It was still a little haphazard, and I felt strange about it. And second guessed, even when initially we discussed this, yesterday? So, yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, we were talking about it, is it worth it? And there was like a good, 8 seats in between us and anyone else.
True.
But they still only put, it was 2 seats together
Yeah.
in every single instance. It's like, well, that's not. I mean, I get that people want to see the movies together, but I'm okay with sitting a couple of seats away from Fuego for
Truly.
the length of a movie.
Yeah.
If you're not going to talk to
It's
them,
totally fine. What's the point?
But anyway,
Still, though, there were people around us masked off to eat and
just to
drink
eat and
all
everything,
that
I was
stuff.
like,
So
why
I'm
am
like,
I
it
even bothering?
defeats the purpose a lot, man.
But luckily
What
they
are you
were
gonna
far
do?
enough away that I was okay with it. No one in front of us, because we actually sat in some seats where there was just aisle and like it was the edge of the actual risers in front of us, so that was nice.
Yeah, we were in there was a tactic behind this. We tried to be as safe as possible, but you can only be so safe in this situation. So that's our preface, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
But we did go to see a movie that has been literally a long time coming. We've done
3
trailer
years, right?
reactions over a number of years for this movie, and that is, of course, The New Mutants.
Josh Boone finally getting it out.
Something we were really excited about when we first heard about it, because
Yeah.
it was billed as a horror X-Men movie, and we were like, oh yes, please,
Yeah.
let's absolutely do that.
Nightmare 3 vibes and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah.
And then here we are, finally, it's dropped after multiple delays, supposed reshoots that never actually happened.
Or so they say.
Yeah, it's who knows, but I'll start off this because I have a feeling Fuego and I aren't going to be quite the same on our opinions.
Huh.
I
wonder
actually
why.
really liked this movie, to be honest with you. I went into it with such low expectations after all that it's been through after
helps.
all this time.
Yeah.
That it was actually not bad. It's not obviously the best X-Men movie, but quite honestly, it might be in the top 5 X-Men movies for me because it is such a focused story. It's a very small, sort of intimate story compared to the usual X-Men fare that we get, and I liked that difference. I thought that was neat. It was a lot more akin to Logan as far as a focused story than the usual X-Men fare is.
And smaller and more low-key in that regard.
Indeed. Smaller cast, that everyone gets focus and gets development, and
6 people.
Yeah,
In the whole movie.
I
except for Father at the beginning.
and then the effects, the big bad, as it were, was something I knew was coming. I'm familiar with the actual storyline from the comics.
I'm not, unfortunately.
And it was really entertaining. I had a good time with this movie. I'm definitely actually glad that I went to the theater to see it. Now, it's not going to blow anyone away, and it literally wears its influences on its shoulder. Like, there's a group that is talking about nightmares at one point in the facility, and I was like, okay, there's the Nightmare 3 stuff. And then there was
playing Buffy.
playing Buffy. Literally the episode Hush, where it's the creepy bald creatures that smile all the time.
One of the best episodes of the show.
And here we are with creepy bald creatures that smile all the time. So it literally was showing you where its influences were from.
Oh, and the Tara Willow moment too.
Yeah, exactly. So as a result of them being so upfront with it, I didn't have a problem with it. I quite enjoyed it, actually, and yeah, I was surprised with how much I dug this movie. It's not a perfect movie, but I definitely saw way more positives than negatives.
Yeah, I definitely didn't love it. Big thing for me is probably that I'm not really familiar with any of these lower level X characters. Like I didn't read Generation X or
Lower
even
level?
X.
How
well,
dare
I
you.
mean, I just don't know. I
How
never
dare
read the
you
New
in
Mutants. I never
2020.
read Generation X or
Say the
X
lower
Factor
level.
or any of that stuff. I was pretty much.
Danny Moonstar is a treasure,
Yeah.
sir.
I enjoyed all these characters though. I mean, Eduardo, was that the guy?
Mhm.
Yeah, he was probably my least favorite, but I mean,
Sunspot.
Yeah, Sunspot. There you go. But all of the other characters developed themselves well enough. But the middle of the movie kind of dragged for me, where I just really wanted more scares. I wanted it to get less away from that WB melodrama that we had a little bit of, throughout. But yeah, once it got going in the third act, despite the fact that I felt it was a little disjointed, some of the dialogue was a little cringy at times for me. But once it got to Act 3 and we got this demon bear and the fighting and the super ramp up of the horror, I actually did like it. So I didn't love it though. I didn't know what to expect. But yeah, it was a little slow going at times. But once it got there, dug it.
Yeah, I could see. That's the other thing. I could see how people would feel coming out of there that it was slow.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's no slower than some of the other recent slow build horror movies that are just way more artsy about it.
Which is what it was trying to be, obviously. It's still well directed.
Again, I think it was more successful than I think a lot of other people might. Again, this is more of a, I don't know quite how to phrase it, like a layman's horror movie. You know, it's not super high art horror or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It is still a PG-13 version of horror.
So it's restrained. But
it does well enough with the stuff. Like, I didn't jump or anything like that, but I was entertained enough with it being within the X universe and them toying with a couple things. Like, when they finally revealed the sort of corporation behind this whole thing, I was like really happy about it. Fuego didn't quite get it because they didn't draw the exact parallel.
In particular, but
then there was another thing that happened where I was like, yes, this is really awesome. Like, I know more about Ileana than a lot of people because I'm familiar with her story. Well, that's Colossus's sister.
Oh, okay. I remember that.
Yeah, Ileana Rasputin, and the fact that she had her the way they did Lockheed was really entertaining. So Lockheed is her puppet.
Yeah.
She has a little dragon puppet, a little purple dragon puppet. And I was like, she starts talking to it and like, Lockheed, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's really an entertaining way to bring in, like, how else are you going to bring a little purple dragon into our real X universe? And then they surprised me with it towards the end. I was like, if they do something to really fulfill this by the end, then I'm going to be really pleased. And they did.
Yeah.
And so anyone that's familiar with X-Men, specifically Kitty Pryde, Lockheed is more of a Kitty Pryde thing, but I think it did start off as an Ileana thing. I'm not 100% sure on that. But he is mostly Kitty Pryde's sort of go-to, which is funny because Joss Whedon, that made that episode of Buffy, also really leaned on the Kitty Pryde and Lockheed of it all, and she actually was seeing Colossus in his arc. So all of it kind of ties together in a weird kind of way. But so the story is about Dani Moonstar, who at the very beginning loses her tribe. Her reservation, rather.
Cheyenne, res or something like that.
Yeah, they all get destroyed by some kind of force that we don't really know what it is.
There's hints, though.
And she wakes up in this hospital where there's a teacher, Dr. Ray, or a doctor called Reyes, who is overseeing this group of kids, young adults that have recently, or maybe not so recently, developed powers, and they're here in order to try and control it, learn to control their powers before they are passed on to the next, what did they call it? Like the
next facility.
The next facility,
or something like that.
And of course, you're thinking the whole time, they're talking about Professor X. Yeah, exactly. And they even have a conversation like, do we even want to be X-Men and stuff like this? Not everything is as it seems without spoiling. So
there was a very good analogy that Reyes uses at one point, and it's about baby rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
I think it was in one of the prior trailers, but it's just very effective. And there's another analogy that she uses at the end of the movie where, about being a veterinarian and putting stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
That was really powerful too.
Yeah. So Dani has to try and learn why she's in this facility. Soon she finds out that she might be one of these mutants, and they're trying to figure out what her power is. But once she's there, very rapidly afterwards, things start to go a little haywire. All of the other people start to have nightmares and visions of some of their worst fears and things like that.
And they're actually manifesting eventually. So So it starts out like a dreamlike sort of thing, and then like popping into the real world sort of.
And in the meantime, the little assassin from Game of Thrones who is playing.
She was great in this.
She's playing Wolfsbane. That's what the W is, by the way.
That's what I figured.
Because her character's name is Wolfsbane in the comics.
But there's also another point with a branding that it looked like an M, which I thought was an interesting little touch too.
Which is also tied in with the other thing that gets revealed later on.
Okay.
They have to try and figure out what's up with Danny, and she has to navigate. Unfortunately, I do agree with Fuego that there are some CW-like relationship moments that we have to navigate because they're all
cute,
young.
you know?
They're
It
all
was cute,
kids. They've
you know?
just developed
Yeah.
their mutant powers, so of course it should have an element of that.
It should have that sort of approach. So I contend that, but I'm kind of past that sort of stuff at this point.
That's fair.
So,
I mean, yeah,
you know,
our age, it's not really our demographic,
yeah.
but
Although I watched the hell out of Buffy, so.
I mean, I'm always going to be a Toys R Us kid, so I can always
Yeah.
put myself
Yeah.
back in that situation.
Toys were us.
Oh, that's so sad. Toys
Yeah,
were us.
Yeah, that shirt that I bought
Oh,
a
that's
couple years
right,
ago
yeah.
at the con. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
that's the long and short of the story, and once her powers are revealed, they all have to figure out what to do about it, again, without spoiling.
Yeah.
And so I quite enjoyed, I mean, it was a simple story, and it didn't go off the rails. There are some questionable decisions made at certain times, and some conveniences, of course. But, you know, none of them jumped out so much to my face, like, hey, this is something that really is sticking out as a bad thing. So I kind of just rolled with it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story.
Okay. I enjoyed most of it, but I will agree with you about the simple part because of the fact that Danny was the most fascinating person. Obviously, our central character, she gets the most backstory. The other peeps, not so much. I didn't really feel like I got to know them as well as I wanted to. You know, I was very intrigued about all their backstories. I mean, blowing up a mine and, you know, some sort of, I don't know, Ileana, right? That's Anya Taylor-Joy's chick. I mean, I really wanted to know more about her and what sort of abuse she potentially endured and all this different stuff, but I felt like they just skimmed over it in a longer film. Maybe we could have got some more about that. I still cared about the characters, but I didn't feel like I got to know them as well as I wanted to.
That's
but
fair.
I
That's
guess
a fair criticism.
Boone said that he wanted to make a second and third film or more stuff, but as far as an origin story kind of goes, I mean, I don't know, people are kind of over origin stories, but since I didn't know much about these characters, now I want to learn more about them because I did make that connection. So,
Acting wise, I actually thought everyone was good. I thought Danny, you know, the main character, did a good job.
Definitely.
You know, I think the dude's name is Sunspot. I know Sunspot is usually a guy named Shiro, or Shiro, if I'm not mistaken. So it might not be Sunspot. It's another one with flaming powers, or maybe it's a different iteration of the character that I'm just not familiar with. But outside of him, we had Wolfsbane, played by the little assassin from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, she was
I don't know
terrific.
why I can't think of her name.
Yeah, I haven't watched Game of Thrones.
Maisie
so
Williams, I believe.
Okay.
Maisie Williams.
Sounds about
I
right.
think.
Yeah.
But she did a good job in her role, and then of course we had Dane DeHaan, right? Or not Dane DeHaan. What was that other dude's? No, it's the dude from Stranger Things, rather.
Yes, yeah.
He was
Older
in
brother
Stranger
from
Things.
Stranger.
Very Dane
Things. Why
DeHaan
can't
looking
I-
though when you think about it.
Yeah, it's something in the face and
Yeah,
kind of like
it's the
that.
facial structure.
Yeah.
But he played Cannonball, Sam Guthrie.
Another person I wanted to learn a lot more about.
Yeah,
you know, just didn't really feel like
it was
I got
really
enough.
interesting the way I was like, how do you handle Cannonball? Because Cannonball is, you know, he's just kinetic energy, and the way they actually did him, like, I thought it was really interesting.
I love that scene where he like chains himself to the block in the middle and then was just
trying to
going
figure out how to
nuts,
control
spinning
it and
around.
everything. Yeah,
that was fascinating.
So I enjoyed everyone's character, and I thought everyone did a good job. Even the stereotypical sort of doctor character has a very stereotypical arc as well.
I think she's a Brazilian actress. Man, I can't turn her name eludes me, but I've seen her in a few things, and she's always been very capable, you know, confident, and she's pretty sexy too. So it helps.
So, any other thoughts on the acting there?
Anya Taylor-Joy, man.
Oh, of
I mean,
course.
yes, she was the standout for me, most definitely. Yes, I love the two younger girls. I mean, they
the
seem
jerky
like
Russian chick.
yes, exactly. She plays bitch quite good, and yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. And once again, I don't know, Anya always kind of brings it, from my estimation. So yeah, she was amusing in the role. She has an interesting arc of like softening up a little bit, which I enjoyed. So, and it's fun to see them all bond as a team. They all had good like chemistry as a cast.
Yeah, I agree with you on
They had
that.
a lot to carry. 5 people. I mean, come on.
Indeed.
Six with the doc.
I mean, the sound effects, sound design, and
Pretty minimalistic.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, the sound design
Score-wise,
was,
at least,
yeah,
was-
score-wise was pretty minimalistic. It
Yeah.
was never felt like the score up until the third act
Yeah.
never really got above like a 6 or a 7 in intensity.
yeah, and it's
So
just like little bits of keys.
that
here
tells
and
you
there
the
for
pacing
ambiance
of the
and-
story up till then as well.
True, as I said.
But the sound design was really cool. I quite liked the force of nature at the beginning growls. I thought that was dope.
That whole scene was great, man. It
Yeah.
started with a punch, and it just went for it, almost like the beginning of Underwater.
And then at the end, again, it was a really intense, well sound designed scene, I thought.
Yeah.
And it's
snarls of the monsters, and like the cracking of limbs at times, and also like all the sound effects with just the bear itself when it finally manifests, which we'll get to in effect. But yeah.
Yeah, so all of that was good, and of course I think it was a very well presented movie. I think it was good looking. It was nothing that was like, hey, I've never seen that before, but it was still really well put together, in the cinematography and everything.
Oh yeah, the main facility that they're at, it's a combination between exterior of like Xavier's mansion, but then inside straight up like Nightmare 3. So
yeah. So they did a good job with everything as far as the production design and all of that goes as well.
Well shot too. Josh Boone. He shot as far as like camera angles go, and like the above of the graveyard at one particular point. I was digging it. So.
And some shots towards the end when things are happening that's making you tense, like is this person going to get away?
Oh, yeah.
Things like that. All well crafted.
Yeah.
But I think last but not least we have to talk about the effects, of course. This did not feel like it was like unfinished in any way. I feel like all the effects were really, no kidding, for real. They had enough time, and I thought all the effects were really good. I thought the smiley guys were good. Again, these things are shown in the trailer briefly,
and they look similar to certain monsters we've seen before, obviously. But better in some cases than those previous things that they look similar to.
They are very Crooked Man-esque.
That's what I thought.
Very, very Crooked Man-esque. But the demon bear, which you do again see glimpses of in the trailer. So it's not. It's based on the Demon Bear saga from the New Mutants comics. So there is,
which I want to read now.
Bear.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's really, this creature was really cool, and
the sheer scale of it too.
It's mostly smoky, so that's easy to hide a lot of flaws and stuff in CG. But
it is supposed to be this big apparition, ghostly kind of thing. Anyway,
yeah, it's a bear the size of a house essentially, and it's really really cool. Yeah. So when all of that happens, it's really good. But even up until then, all the other effects, the effects of people lighting up, armoring up, lighting on fire, like
jumping
all
into
this
a
stuff.
limbo dimension to gain your power, and eyes glowing, and her badass sword and stuff. She looked really rad.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff, and a very special effect that shows up that I was not expecting. That made me really happy.
And it was also a honestly entertaining, intense fight at the end too. You see footage of it in the trailer with her, going after the bear and stuff, and it's a big epic battle. And certain epic battles in Marvel properties and DC ones too, they kind of fall short. This one, it delivered, man.
Yeah, I feel like it did as well. Yeah.
Cool.
So ultimately, again, I feel like this was a very successful movie. I think it's one of the better X movies at this point because they all started to feel so similar.
Yeah, I was more entertained by this than definitely Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, at least.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, props to them, man. I'm sad it's like the last one from this regime of Kimberg and all those peeps. So
yeah, but
yeah,
at least they went out with a bang.
Yeah, and with something distinctively different. I will really give them credit for that.
Indeed. So
sweet.
If you guys have seen the New Mutants, let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Just don't be spoilery about it. I think we skirted the line okay here.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, did this review make you want to watch it more now than you were before? Or are you just going to avoid it entirely because of all the delays and everything?
Yeah,
So
or are you even cool with going back to a theater?
Let us know all those thoughts in the comments down below. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias a Jaime and Fuego.
And thank you very much to our patrons. But
Appreciate
remember,
you.
guys, stay scared.